Tashidale. We have a nice refreshing rain. So today is our last day of the workshop. And tomorrow we are going to do a little review and we have some assessments.
But
it is important that you feel that you have all your questions answered. So if we are not able to address all the questions during class, then let's meet during tea time to discuss as well. So Brycela went to Mundgod yesterday and the day before. And we have some interesting activities for you later on today. Today we wanted to start by thinking about the question that we were dealing with at the end of class yesterday. We were working with this toy and we noticed that the toy snapped and started to go up, and as it was going up it was slowing down. It reached its highest height and then came back down, speeding up. And we noticed that in both the situations of it going up and coming down, after it was no longer touching the table, the only force that was exerted on it was the gravitational force and maybe a little frictional force due to the air. So we established yesterday, during the second part of the motion, the part after it had finished touching the table, that it had a lot of kinetic energy, less kinetic energy, less kinetic energy, less kinetic energy, no kinetic energy. So then the question for us is, what is the life of these 4 kinetic energy units? One idea that we had yesterday was, if we include the air, the kinetic energy units can go to the air and turn into thermal energy units. But that cannot be the whole story, because the object is slowing down even in the absence of air.
ngobudi theru dugudu la jora lung meba inage thegarang chigi res.
So even if we do not have any lund at all, the kinetic energy decreases.
Lung meba inage gujo nibadi kharchigirlana chadu res.
So then the question then for all of us is to figure out what happens to these kinetic energy units even when there is no air.
The tiwa di kharile or lawaina lung meba inaya ani thanda di gujo nibashi do kuransol kharchungi res lan lung meba ina di tiwa di chagi res.
So we would like you to discuss with your groups what happened to those kinetic energy units.
The kiransol tiwa ruga na nangro chesi di tiwa di kharchagor lawaina thanda gujo nibas dindula kharchire la jura di tiwa di res.
Even in the absence of air.
Lung mewe kapsu imba inaita lung mewe kapsu nedang jura di kapsu gujo nibadi la kharchungi res lan tiwa di res.
So let's discuss in whiteboard groups.
The ruga na la nang sung so agelage ruga kharila na yini karbang chik shani ruga suyu adi thagara nang ro ches nang dan.
And in 2 minutes we want the ideas from people in the groups.
The chodur che di kamani yes ani kamani jal khiran se samsu di ya duye yes.
Kama jura to chiba yi ba ta ya to manye a chiba yi la ya dwa de sar to lo mi gero da mi bi ko ya dwa da shikna ya to mo do ra ma de kali chini ya ma chiba chiba do ra
We have a mystery in our hands about what happened to those 4 kinetic energy units.
Ta thanda nganzo thiwa le ma the yo thiwa ji yo ros ngala sola di kharila na thanda gujo niba shi de khar chungere lan di ros.
So in the previous energy theater that we thought about, which was Tenzin pulling Jamyang, we are thinking that the Tenzin is like a big pot. And Jamyang is a big pot. Inside Tenzin there is dal. The big pot has dal in it. And then, or we can think of it as water. And then we say, how do we know what indicator are we going to use for this? And we say, well, we're going to use the amount of water as an indicator for how much water there is, the height of the water in the pot as an indicator for how much water there is in Tenzin. Now, I'm not saying that Tenzin has water. I'm saying that I'm thinking of the energy, of the chemical energy in Tenzin as being contained in a pot. And that energy flows from Tenzin into Jamyang's pot. So I'm using an indicator for how much Tenzin energy, how much Tenzin's energy went down, and how much Jamyang's energy went up.
Machasha. Tianashi Jamengi Nuba Kakas Parsha Dita Roas.
So every form of energy must have an indicator. Every form of energy must have an
Dila
indicator.
Dugala Nuba Rik Hande Jimba in a raw. Koran Dadun Chingi Jures.
And it is how much energy you have, how much water you have in that pot at that moment that matters.
The Tande Nedan Chashaoina, Zamenang Chu Kaga Sumejura di Zigures.
Because that is the water that you can actually transfer to somebody else.
Haisna Tande Nedan Nala Karicha Durlana Chudres, Chudichigni Shembala Peros.
If I come to you and I say, I'm thirsty, please give me some water, you give me from the water that you have, not from the water that you could have.
Dila Dudang Ni Keranzo Damioni Kakomudu Chujite the Lawena, Di Nedang Negap Keranzo La Chu Kariume, Di any Stamatis Lamanang Roas. Jella Kari Chu Jella Kari Ragu Major Di Korkeji Maris Tande Nedang La Kario Di and Parkel Stamatis Lamati Res Keranzo.
You say, I have this glass of water, I'm going to give you half of my glass of water.
That a porba Chegas Dojoina, Di any Keranzo Titu Roas.
If you have a big pot and you only have a glass of water, it doesn't matter how much water that pot could contain.
Dila Dugala Zamachimbu Shu Yoache, Shu Dinal Hazu Lona Porbachi Yoina Shunich. Dila Dugala Zamadigi Kagas Shongure, Dil Kebasumaras, Chumangyon Kagas Nyatu Medi, Tande Nedan La Chu Kagas Medi Kebasugures, Di Kejum Ditsigures.
So, what are your ideas? What happened to this kinetic energy that is in the pot of the toy?
Tande Nedan Dila Jawaina, Tadi Teche Jura Di Nanglo Guju Nuba Kagas Mangyong Di Keshi Ras.
Tell me some of the discussions that you had at your groups.
The Ruga na Tudur Nang Ra, Nang Saw into any Kiranzo Karikari, Tunan Chume, Tudur Karichume, Di Mashiro Chidas.
Gochin about the Nibajimba Gondrudus.
Gela Karisud Lana, Guju Nuba di Nuba Shemba in all Jordus Shesra. So this kinetic energy is transformed into a different form of energy.
So that is one choice that we have, is that this kinetic energy changed form from kinetic into another form of energy.
Dila Duta Nuba di Mo Juatang Ras, and the Guju Nuba ni no Shemba Jureshi Ras.
So in that case, we need to think about what is the indicator of that new form of energy.
The Nuba Sawaj Jurela Ra, Shemba Jurela Dugala, Nuba Shemba digi Dadun Shingi Karires. Nuba Shemba Jurela Ra, and Shemba Jura Nuba, digi Dadun Shingi Karires. Masawadi. So falling down of the object is the indicator.
So the falling down of the object could be an indicator, right?
Masai di dadun chinge yisi roas.
Okay. There is an idea back there, yes?
Samsush duste. So we feel that this kinetic energy is transformed into elastic energy in the toy.
So one possibility is that this kinetic energy transformed into elastic energy in the toy.
The Quran so share chuaina di gujun nubash doa di khari le juarela na narkum nubal jureshi doas.
So what would be the indicator of elastic energy in an object?
Tatanda gujun nubashira gonda narkum nubashira di shudu narkum nubajura di dadun chigi khari res. Narkum gi nubadi So the kinetic energy is decreasing in this situation by, we can say that by looking at the speed of the object, because when it goes up and falls down, it's the time taken by that object decreases.
So the indicator that we use for the decrease of kinetic energy is the speed of the object.
Ta thanda gujo nuba gi dadun chinge di manzo khari shigir lawa na yama yokse jura ngobo di yama joya digal tani lagi roas.
So we observe that the speed of the object goes down. That must mean that the kinetic energy goes down.
Ta manzo I khari thunang chungir lawa na ta je chegaps ngobo di yokse di khachire ma cha roas teru doras dila dugala gujo nuba di ma cha dugores.
One thing that I want to point out about your wonderful thinking is that you are thinking in a very productive way.
Ta keran zo samlo tang khajo dodan jura di takta du dos dodan di. Ya bu shu tang du samlo tang di.
What both of these ideas are saying is that the kinetic energy must become another form of energy, or it must be transferred to another object.
Ta kiran zo shejo di ta res khari she se ona roga niga gi gujo nuba di nuba shimba chile jutu go res lan she sos yangna nuba di ngobo ching ni ngobo shen la phogu go roas.
I cannot lose monks.
Dila du ye ni ku sho khajo yo di rangja di roas di la do yo ma roas me cha yo ma roas.
Okay?
Di roas.
So we are another group right here was also thinking that that the kinetic energy transforms into another form of energy.
Ta Quran zu rupa ya di tharan samgyo res gujo nuba di nuba shen jile jutu res ngo shimbal jutu res lan samgyo res.
Another group over there was also thinking that the kinetic energy changes into another form of energy.
An tharan shi ruga shimbal sto di gyabla Quran so ya tharan samgyo res gujo nuba di nuba shimbal jile jutu yo.
So we have discovered the need for a new form of energy.
Ta nganzo khari gugu yo ha korla na nuba sawa nuba shimba ju yo ha gugu roas nda.
We are saying that if energy can only transfer or transform,
Ta nganzo thanda nuba se di ya phoye yora phasu phoye yo che thega na shi jure yo ngo jure yo ha gugu roas chitugu yo roas nuba ladi.
and there is no place for it to transfer,
Ta pho gugu yo na kisi saja me wa inas phosa.
then it must change form.
Ta phosa gi saja me wa na korang gi ngo jur gugu yo res.
The thing that we disagree on is what form of energy that energy is.
Ta khari la mothu me wa char la na pinji ngo di jurra ngo juddu gal ngo shimba ji chadu shimba di khari me dil kheba do sons.
And so let's think about elastic energy here for a moment.
Ta kiran zu ngo ni ni narkum ni bashe ras di gor la kiran zu ni is.
Might we use as an indicator of elastic energy how much an elastic object is squeezed or stretched?
Ta nga zu narkum ni ba la jora di gi da du chinge khari la du gal nga zu di pheju chi chog ras ngo bo di khagas khum yeme da khagas nar yeme jora di ta chog ras da du chinge chela.
So for instance, we could say there is more elastic energy in the rubber band here than there.
Ta sanda patient ro shaw inas ta nye la thanda shaw na shi di gita chi dos dila ni ma thendu gala narkum gi nuba che di yallo so di gapso ni narkum gi nuba chunga la ras di.
So I can look at the compression, at the squeezing or the expansion of an elastic object and decide about its elastic energy.
Ta narkum chegen gi ngobo jora di ni khogas koran khagas ta khum yume da khagas ki nar yume dilata ni an nganzu gi narkum nuba khagas yume ngobo dila di she tu ruas.
is the object different here and here?
Ta du ga lo ngo bu di ne de la yo da de la yo di yel kheba yo wes. Okay, there is no difference.
If there is no difference, then the indicator for elastic energy has not changed.
Di la du ga kheba yo mare sung ro ani da dun chige di la kheba do yo mar was. Kana nargum chige gi da dun chige jo ra nargum gi da dun chige di la kheba do yo mar was.
So it cannot be elastic energy.
For
this part of the scenario, it cannot be elastic energy. Because this does not change in shape here. So it changes shape here, but it does not change shape here, 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 here. So it cannot be elastic energy. It cannot be chemical energy, which is the energy due to food or gasoline. It is not thermal energy.
So there is gravitational force.
So there is a gravitational force which is pulling on it.
He said like energy of the gravity.
Oh, energy of gravity.
Is there energy of gravity?
So maybe we can invent a new form of energy, which is gravitational energy. And for us to invent it, we also need to identify an indicator.
The slowing down of the object is the indicator.
Say that again.
Slowing down of the object, the speed slows down, so that is the indicator.
When this comes down, it speeds up.
Okay, when it goes up, he's saying.
When it goes up, it slows down. The slowing down, right? The slowing down is an indicator of the change in kinetic energy. When Bryce'la was coming with a skateboard and I pushed on him and slowed him down,
Bryce dinek thanda kholo diga shuni yung dusra ani stamaris ki ka roas di ka du gale gyose di thero do roas Bryce ki
I used the indicator of his speed becoming smaller and smaller as an indicator that his kinetic energy was going down.
ta dadun shige kharil tar la ina Bryce la cha shawana ko thero do jora di dadun shige dileni ani ngi kharishir la na
So if I were to use slowing down as an indicator of gravitational energy, then I would be using the same thing as an indicator for two different forms of energy. Let me recap, because this is a subtle idea. So where are we right now? We decided that these 4K units, these 4K monks, should still be on the stage at the end of the scenario. They cannot be kinetic energy monks at the end of the scenario. because the speed, the indicator of kinetic energy, changes all the way to zero.
Kaisana gujo nuba jura di yokseta oina gujo nuba di tineni jo dugi lego chali res.
So they either moved to another object and or they changed form to another form of energy.
Ta dosa ni res yana har chigla na Quran so ngobo shemba chila du res nuba di yana Quran so ngo di jo dugi res.
And we suspect that that energy has something to do with the gravitational force.
Ta ngazoi khari samgyor lawana nuba jiyor lagora di nuba di khari da dewa chagi du lawana tenshu da dewa chagi du slani marazoi samluna yores.
So let's think about the opposite phenomenon, which is the dropping down of this object from here to here.
Dile dobe sta waina sra di khar chawor la ngobo di gangni ma sagdo di gapsu nedang di res.
When I drop this, there are no kinetic energy units here.
Thambol le be kapsu gujo nuba che yo mares dinala.
Little later, I have kinetic energy units there.
Tos chelta du gala khari la na gujo nuba gi cheshi khashi juyo res dila.
A little later, I have even more kinetic energy units there.
An tos chelta waina and the gujo nuba cheshi mangro do res.
And when just before it hits the floor, it has 10 kinetic energy units there.
Ta di shala lama thok moyas la ra dil ta waina ani gujo nuba gi cheshi ta waina cheshi choose yo res.
I get now on the chair and I drop it from a higher height.
Ta chok thanda gubja gala ya shang an dinin tis thor rura hi tho ani ma yu wainas lo wainas ti.
It has no kinetic energy units here.
Ta ganga ni chi waina gujo nuba I cheshi ta waina yo mares ti ganga.
It has some,
An di mal li du tis yo res.
more,
Di mangru
more,
du res.
10,
Chu chag res ti gas li du.
15.
Mal li du gala chonga chag yo res. Ya do waina. So if you throw it up, will it be opposite?
When I throw it up, it will be opposite. If I throw it up with 15, then it's going to go higher than when I toss it up with 10.
Ya yu waina docho res lan tuar da res. Wani thambo go zu du le sa jela khajo lan chonga an chu indi chin cha do jo thangran du res.
아무라 안에 보디 야도 가서 안에 구셔지는 거 뒤로라 뒤로 그 들어가려면 이겨서 안에 코랑 천이지는 거 제발 통들었어 뒤에 천이지는 거 그만 구셔지는 거 먹는 요래 야나 아니 니바 사바지라 그랬어 아니 그만 구셔지는 거데 먹는 요에는 구셔지는 거 찾아 아니 사이 텐조 기능이 먹는 거
So his question is when this object moves high up, so when it reaches at the top height, so the kinetic, you said the kinetic energy becomes zero. So we feel that there is a new energy like potential energy, he's saying. So does it mean that the kinetic energy has transformed into potential energy, or has this object gained a new form of energy which is potential energy? And if it's the case, there is no role of force of gravity.
So as the object is going up, the kinetic energy units, we said, there will be fewer kinetic energy monks.
Ta thanda ngobodi ya phargyura pharwe kapsu ani thanda guju nobody nyunga yo res lani shigyo res ya pharwe kapsu.
And so a little bit later, this kinetic energy monk will have become a different kind of energy.
Dila du tos chela pharsa jela tos chela di guju noba pusho jora di ani noba shimba chili gyursa res.
And I will still have 1, 2, 3, 4 monks.
Hina ya nga dela kharir lawaina kusho shi rangja de res thanga jawaina.
I would have 3 kinetic energy units and 1 of the new form of energy.
Ta shi yedu gala sum dikhar lana ngol gujo noba di rangja che se shi di dela kharir lana noba ngo saw chili res.
A little while later, this will turn into the new form of energy.
And tos chelta oina di nubashta di nubashimba chili gyur res gujo noba di.
So I would still have 1, 2, 3, 4 units of energy, 2 kinetic energy units and 2 of the new form of energy.
ine nube cheshi ta oina nube cheshi shil ha rangjal ha deores ine dinal ni khari cha deorlana bujo nube che ni ani nube shimba ngol chaires.
And then later, I'm going to have 0 kinetic energy units and 4 of the new forms of energy, of the new form of energy.
tos chela ta oina ani nube cheshi khajoerlana shil ha deores ine bujo nube che yo mares khaisna thanda nube shimba jil sawa jil jur sares.
So we suspect that this form of energy has to do with gravity.
Di nuba jura di khari da dewa chagi la wana tenshu da dewa chagi res.
And we said that the higher I drop something, or the higher something goes, the faster it is going to move when it returns to the ground.
Dilo de gang khagas to yu ena mal le du gala sai dam le du digas gyose gyor du yu adi shigi ros.
So then maybe we can use as an indicator the height above the ground.
Dilo du dang anju gi thanda da dun chingen jora di those dil ta na digi ros sai ngoni khagas thole du la di those di shana digi ros.
So maybe we can try out the idea that there is a new form of energy.
Tang aram ju samchu na shi ta dela niba sawa ju nibe ngo sawa ju la jora di shana digi ros.
That has as an indicator the height of the object above some reference point.
Tanda nube ngo sawa ji sharwa di shaya gi dadun chige di nganju khari shawar lawa na thoje jorwa di shaya res.
So let's go back to our Tenzin and Jamyang situation.
Tango la tenzin da jamyang gi nedang jua di gala rangja tuya is.
Is anyone's height changing during height above the floor? Is that changing throughout the scenario?
Ta tenzin da jamyang gi nedang jua di gapso ani Quran zul ta du ngobo khari ne ta ngobo khande ji imbai ne Quran zo gi thoje jora ringse dile kheba dugu dues. Tenzin da jamyang gi nedang gapso langor.
Jamyang is on the skate all the time.
Jamyang Quran thanda nganju ta je chego chego gapso khadu ne Quran dede barwa kholo diga de ni dugu res.
And Tenzin is at the same height all the time.
An tenzin yang thana shi Quran gi thoje ta waina chego de chego gapso thoje chi grang dera tendu gugu chin ma thengyo ra thagrang res.
So I could put that energy in each one of them, but that energy does not play a role because those units do not do anything.
Dila du nuba di luna digyo roasti. Ine ta di nuba dila khailan thoje chi grang indu gala seshi del gyor doyo ma res rangja de res dila du gala kheguj kheba su ma roasti na.
So I wanted us to go through this reasoning because that is how scientists invent new forms of energy.
The Kiran Zumoni Tiwa Tang, the Liching Samlu Tang Wai Chagures, the Inde Urim to Duching Terriba, the Samlu, the Tangures Tanga, the Ladoning Aranzugita, and the Nubengo Sawanye, Jura, the Unigures.
One question 100 years ago, 120 years ago was, where did the energy from the sun come from?
The Lord Mangbuela Tiwaji career Lawaina, Nimala Nuba Jura, the Kanini Lere Lajura, the Tua the Chayres Nima.
And people went through the reasoning trying to figure out if they could use any of their known forms of energy to account for the energy that the sun was losing.
The Laduta di Junsen Town, Anita Tandangaransu Tagula Yuet and the Niba Rijura, Didani Pagila, Digi, any Pajo, the lane tap to the Dindishini, Junsen Town, any Kuransugi, Dewa Disuni, Tabchi res.
If the sun sends energy out into the universe, then the sun's, some form of energy in the sun must be going down.
Karshigur Lana, Nubik, Tanda, Nimegi Nuba Jura, Kisi Ma Luguina, the Nuba Lugu di Chashiji Koli Lana, Marazu, Se Kolagali, you are the Haku was.
And scientists were going through exactly the same process as you just did.
That Seripa Drodan Gurim Jura, cannot to Tanda Harinangu, Dichibuji can rest, and the door to rest Rodandi.
And scientists, as you did not want to give up on forms of energy that they already knew.
The Quranzo Dido, Kiranzo Nanshi, ngoi ni shim khari khari shingyu image ra nuberi di chipula khar ma de ache tirang la thom ne digyo mares kranzo sawa she gi thapshi chigyo res.
And so they said, could it be this form of energy, that form of energy, the other form of energy?
Koranzo tiwa tangyo res thanda nuberi jura di ina phagi ina la ni koranzo gi tiwa tang digyo res koranzo pinju.
And they realized through thinking and through experiments that it could not be any of the forms of energy that they already knew.
Dila du koranzo tiwa tang digyo ra taji chiyo gaps. Dila du gala ngoi ni nuberi ngarazo sanye chung sa jo jura dige ina la du dinzo manye du ta nube sawa jur la jura rik sawa jur la dindis koranzo she res.
And then together with other experiments on Earth, they developed the idea of nuclear energy.
Dila du gala ta changme gi samchu du ni ani koranzo nube sawa jita sawa nye ro di khari chagor la na de dul gi nube jua di chadu res.
Through exactly the same process as you did.
Dodang gyurim keranzo khari na wana shi dodang thearan do res seriba dinzu.
So, the story, what I would like you to do is I would like you to draw on your diagram so that we can finish with this. On your diagrams, what is the story of these 4 units?
Ta keranzo na res ta khari la na thanda cheshi shi yo di shi gi dungdi keranzo tibu res.
And so what I would like you to do is I would like you to start with this diagram, then draw a new diagram a little while later. Do we need the Earth? Do we need the Earth in a diagram?
Ta remote ros remote du sai kola bugu yo res na zurimuna.
Nothing much is happening in that part of the stage.
Thanda dina la ke shiu chung de yo marwas sai kola de la.
Okay, so a little while later, we said it's going to be like this.
Tos chela yo thir la ro tinde roji chagir la roas ngarazu.
So what I want you to do is I want you to draw a few more diagrams to tell us what the remaining 3 kinetic energy units are going to do.
Ta thanda dung de rimuna ma thidu bala thangbo da rimba thangbo ni wala ni shesa dido ani sumba shiwa harli yone keranzo dung de soro ches.
So this diagram is an earlier diagram, later, and you're going to draw later and later and later.
Di ngama di chagi roas dungi pochuk di ra andi je chima di che chima lan tinde dodang du res.
So instead of drawing this, you're going to probably draw 1 square, then another square, then another square, then another square.
Ta di sai khola di gung mar la ra di remote tinde thupshi shi che chabla re la thupshi chik chag roas thangbo ni wa sumba sholan.
Let's draw it.
Ta go churu na tie.
What happened to the 3 kinetic energy monks?
Gujo niba kusho sum yora Quran sol khari chung res thanda dina sum da di sum la khari chung res ta je di thera.
Okay, we would like 4 monks
Gala number so
to come up.
who likes to come up you said.
4 monks to come up to volunteer to help us out.
Oh gala number so kiranzo na ni kusho shi din la pero na thanglang.
Is it good? Okay. So,
Alele thanglang means like gala hono so
no, I was
dame.
thinking we will direct it. They will not do anything. They'll just do what we tell them to do. We're just not going to.
So
We're not going to. I think everybody has done. Thanks.
so you want volunteers right?
4
Ale
volunteers.
thanglang oh gala pero na thanglang shi go sa. Gala pe da pe thanglang shi.
So we will direct the energy theater here.
Ta di chabdo di khande chigu me ngaran so isue is ra.
We will direct the energy theater. And so this part is going to be the toy.
Ta ngaran su su di ne ji do di khare sungyo la wa na ngobo di res de
And this part will be the earth.
and di ne di khare chagyo la na se kola res.
So, at the beginning, they are going to be kinetic energy units.
Thangbo go zu du gala khran zu shi khare la na gujo nibe se shi di res gujo dang de
Is this okay?
di chu res
okay.
gujo niba ra.
What should we, how should we show gravitational energy?
Ta tenshu ki niba lan she ras di nga zo khandes tunges and gujo di shira khandes chige la thabden chi di so we will sit down
Oh,
for gravitational force gravitational energy we'll just sit down we won't move because it's pulling it down so we'll just sit down.
okay. So, we're going to start with 4 kinetic energy.
Thangbo go zu du gala gujo niba shini go zu res
The toy is moving fast.
thanda seche shida yoru tu ras yogu yoru chige ras
A little while later, the toy is not moving as fast.
ale thangbo go zu du gala yogu chige res
And you
ni ani yogu di theru tu res digas yogu tu mares
And you turn into gravitational energy.
ani tis ne keran khari le jure se hoina thanda tenshu niba di chai res.
Okay? Okay. So, we are going to be 5 units.
Tangazu seshi nga indas
Because I want to play too.
nga edina thabden chingi chu dos.
Okay. So, so each one of us turned from kinetic energy to gravitational energy.
Tangazu rere gujo niba ne chine ani thanda tenshu niba le judu ras.
So now the toy has reached the highest height.
Ta thande ne dan dilta hoina seche di khole lana
We are all down. We are all down. We are all down.
mashudu.
Yeah, we are all down. Yeah, we are all down. And now the toy starts to fall.
Taya gang thosho dile ra thanda di ne dan le di ta gang ne ya ma sahe go chu res.
So that is the energy theater for the falling down of the toy.
Thanda di khari thabden cha de lana seche di gang ni wa sa da di to dang di res.
Is that okay?
Seo cha sues.
We want to change activities, but I just realized that we need the 4 monks back up here. Yeah.
Tangazu chego yo tistang go samson sine da kharis hago tise kharit sos lana kusho shiya kranzu shirangja phe udos tingchal.
We will very quickly do the energy theater of the first part of the motion.
Ta tis jo dangi lara thanda nedang thangbo juwa sa yogo chidang saniya dwe di indasta tapdendi.
So we will start when we have stretched the toy and it's on the table.
Manzo go khade chugur lana manzo cheshi dikha chi chinang lo imba di lo sa jela chose ga shayu dine go chu yis.
So the toy is not moving.
Ta chose ga liwe kapsu thanda cheche di yogo chi guju dangi yo mares.
So it is at the table, so it does not have any gravitational energy.
Chose ga la dewe kapsu ani Quran la tenshu niba di yo mares.
So it only has elastic energy because we have stretched the elastic.
Di cheche di la niba khari yor la waina thanda nargum gi niba chipu yo res khaina na ngazu gi ma nar sharadi chinang lo ra nar de res.
So let's have this to be the elastic energy.
Ta nargum gi niba chue la ngazu di che yis.
So this will be elastic energy.
Nargum niba res di le chi waina.
So we have 5 elastic energies,
다 날쿰기 누바 nganzu ngayo res thangbo
and suddenly it snaps,
hopta me phare gozu das
and the elastic energy turns into kinetic energy.
ani di narkum nuba di gujo nuba le jutu was
And as we go up,
gang du was
so that was the whole energy theater, elastic energy to kinetic energy to gravitational energy.
ta di jodang de res narkum nuba ni gozu ani gujo nuba le jur andi ne tenshu nuba di res jodang di.
So right now we are going to leave energy behind for just this next activity, and we'll come back to it.
ता थंदा छेगो शंबाजी छे इस दिबो दन थंदा नुबे गी थाबदन दा नुबे कोर्टिस शाय इस
And so we are going to think about balancing.
ता ngaju thonyom ba laura balance che di korla samlu ta is nyombo yongela
And so do monks have experience with seesaws that the kids play? Okay. So this is like a seesaw.
nju pugu chimu chedang la den de yo chi pugu ti khare de la pugu ni de ni chimu che jo di do ros
We will ignore this part here
di chime ta indas di chadi
because you put a lot of effort into building it.
khala na kheran su di la kan kale shu ge rosa di ne di la
So we will not worry about it.
di sha sha is ta
And so we are balancing this on our finger.
ता थंदा di thonyom ba swe jo ra di ngaju khari ga che de la wa na ta di chugu gal che de res.
So what we're going to do, we're going to give you these seesaws at your group, and we will ask you to put weights on either side so that you can balance the 2 weights. The weights should be equal, and also the weights should be unequal.
Di la do kheran su di thanda tishin di pheju chini thonyom bu swe jo ra di kheran su ngo bo den ju pheju chini jise chikba injo ge che re jise loga injo chini ani balance di thonyom bu suru chis di chego di lugana.
So this is a question that we all have experience with.
Di tiwa di ngaro jo changma da nyamnyon da dewe da cha de res tiwa ji res.
If suppose that I have 2 twin children,
Ta ngala pugu chema ji yo ainas
so I put one here,
pugu ni de ne chik di de la sha
where will I put the other one so that this balances?
pugu shemba jo ra ni ba di khol sha u res di nyom bu swe la. And over here
I'll put the other one over there. So what happens when I have 2 children that do not have the same weight?
ता chema yo ra pugu ni di ni ga jise chikba mai ba na ni khare chung res. So there will be imbalance.
Will be imbalance. Is there any way that I can put my bigger child and my littler child on the seesaw so that the seesaw balances?
ता थंदा चेजे जुरा दिना जिगो चिकबा इना निगा था शाव इना तादा दी रेस तन्यो बुज ता जिसे लखेबा यो इना जिगो छे दा चुंगा जुरा पुगुरे रे कोरा नि शासा खोल शागु रेस बैलेंस छेला तन्यो बुज सुरा.
So we want you to start by using 2 of the same object.
편수 제고데 주데 당보 고츠구라 고츠구도 모보 찍바 니 페주 치로 치스.
But with your finger over the middle of the stick, we want you also to try to balance objects that do not have the same mass.
아니 젤라 주고디 끼라 샤이라 리젤 당문이 ngobo 찍바 샤로 치스라 젤라 아니 ngobo 민자와 되세 민자와 용에 배주시네 아니 돈용보 수 에저라 디 탑시 치로 치스
What do you notice?
겔라 넘버 소 키란소 도낭 가르쳐 송사 제보디
What do you notice from your experiments?
수수 따지나 도낭 가르쳐 송스 라
슈기 뛰어서 슈기 뛰어더라.
가르도
슈기로 슈기. 자라 가리 자라 되기 아무 뛰어지고라. 어디 지금 뭐이나도 지금 자라 뛰어디 아무 데라.
슈기
슈기 뛰어.
So where we get to know where is the basis of the force in any object. So axis kind of.
Okay.
What is the center point of the force?
So one idea here is we got to know where, if I were to think of a single place, where is the place where the gravitational force is exerted.
ता तंदा किरांगी शो नंगशी बाइना मोबो दिगी ने खरीला तंदा थिंशु ग्यासा जुरा दि खोय मे हावो दुशे रोस
Were you able to balance two things that had the same mass?
मोबो नि दोसे चिकपा यिबाइना कोरानि थोन्यबु सेतु दोस Yes.
Where do you put them on either side of the center?
खोर शगुला स्किला शगु थाला शगु खोर शगु the sides
Equal. Could you balance two things that did not have the same mass?
ता मोबो नि निगा दोसे योरा मिनजावा यिबाइना दिनि थोन्यबु सेतु दोस Yes, we can.
So, if you were to put the light object at the very end, where did you put the heavy object?
ता मोबो दोसे यांगा जुरा 지고 양아 여기디 네 데라 샤와이나스 아니 지고 치어디 거 샤게서 디죠 away from the side towards the center
Closer to the center.
kila nye shairuas mobudi
So, the earth is not pulling the same way on both sides.
ta dila dugala choniga la sei thinshu jura chigba thingmindos
The earth is pulling with a small force on the lighter object,
sai the shuk jura di ani ngobo chuaina the di chunga dos
and it's pulling with a larger force on the larger object.
thana ngobo chemba chewaina ani shuk che thing dos ma
But we noticed that in a system of balances, the twisting action of each force is the same.
ta tanda ngonjogi thonyumbegi nala jodang jora dil tawaina shugita chiwa lagora twisting nana chudang jora digi ani di tanda thonyumbu suya di yungu roas
Small force times large distance was the same as small distance times large force.
tanda di kharishulana gyangtha ringa che an thana shi shuk gyangtha ringa ina shuk chewa che an thana shi gyangtha chunga ina shuk chunga di tingu doas
So that is something that we're going to use with the activity immediately after tea break.
an di ta si di ngonju chego di ni soje parsing jelana is
And so enjoy your tea.
soje parsing yo na